The policy we have on Taiwan is the same as it was at the beginning of this administration. The only change you might see is how we talk about the entirety of it. What I talked about today was strong, quiet, but clear, in ensuring our allies know precisely where we stand, whether it's open in public or behind closed doors, and that's why these meetings have been so important. But our stance on Taiwan remains unchanged, just as the president said when we came out of those historic meetings with China, and I think we're as in strong of a position as we've ever been in the Pacific and around the world. I did get a chance to meet with my counterpart in Beijing multiple times. In fact, sat next to him during a dinner, and we had a previous couple of meetings, and so it was an opportunity to deepen that. Unfortunately, he wasn't here at that level at Shangri-La, but I anticipate future, and we've set in place more regular rhythms for mill-to-mill contact, because it's not just the high-profile settings, it's the month-to-month basis where you're talking about, whether it's in the Pacific or elsewhere, what they're doing, what we're doing, what it really means, and how we deconflict, that I think is going to matter the most. And that's the expectation of our leadership, is hey, we're starting a new chapter, which is more collaborative, and at the mill-to-mill level, our job is to make sure we facilitate that interaction as much as possible. We're changing the way we make all those types of important munitions to ensure that our companies are delivering not just a little bit more, but a lot of it more across the spectrum. Where we can help Ukraine, we have. Where we can enable Europe to do more, we have. And I'm encouraged by the European commitment. If you look at the amount of money that's been spent, Europe has stepped up, and Ukraine has been just as, if not more, effective in the process. So we want them to be able to defend, and we'll find a way to make sure we can. The blockade is very much still in place, and the Strait of Hormuz came up relatively often, and usually once we talked through it, countries were reassured that the American perspective accounted for that, which it did from the beginning, and that also our view toward energy, I think, will reshape the global map. And the president has talked about, whether it's Texas or Venezuela or energy production, how the future in energy is actually an American future. And that's good for energy security around the world. In the meantime, I believe not just what we're able to do and are doing, whether it's known or unknown in the Strait, but also other countries putting pressure on Iran. Once a deal is had, or not, depending on the choice they made, it will be a open strait, a toll-free strait that the entire world can use, which is the way that it should be. I mean, right now we're focused on being postured and prepared to re-engage if we have to. I mean, this is a high-stakes negotiation. We've got the best negotiator in the world leading it. Iran may not want to give up their nuclear ambitions, but we believe at the table they can and will over time, given the right set of incentives. But the most powerful incentive is the capabilities we have there right now, which they can't ultimately defend against at any real level. And those are decisions in the future the president will make based on how this ends. But I feel confident that he'll get to a deal that serves the interests of the American people in order to sustain peace here in the Pacific and around the globe. To ensure our military might preserve stability, we will pair it with a clarity of intent, which is why we are meeting more frequently with our Chinese counterparts. By maintaining open lines of military-to-military communication, we can coordinate, deconflict, and reduce the risk of miscalculation. This dialogue is not a sign of capitulation in either direction, but a practical guardrail, ensuring the relationship our leaders seek at the top is preserved at every level. And while a decent peace is our goal, make no mistake, America is a Pacific nation, and we insist that China respect our long-standing position in the region, and not just insist, but maintain the manifest military strength to underwrite it. Now, to get that job done, we are changing the playbook. The era of performative outrage is over, where Washington issues loud diplomatic protests that signal virtue but do not project capabilities. Going forward, we will be intentional about how and when we communicate. And we will lead first and foremost with actions. As I said, strong but quiet. Big stick, speak softly. We will prioritize lethal capabilities, strategic discipline, and business-like cooperation over empty rhetoric and peacocking. Any potential opponent will be forced to judge us by our hard power collective readiness, and steadfast resolve. As the National Security Strategy and the National Defense Strategy direct, our approach in the Pacific centers on deterrence by denial along the first island chain. On the Taiwan arms sales, I would very much decouple the two, and we feel very good about our stockpiles, both how we use them and in epic fury in this historic moment, and I don't think enough credit has been given to President Trump for his willingness to take on this global threat. Any decision about future Taiwan arms sales, as the President said, will rest with him, and as a nature of that relationship, and certainly having been there for those meetings in Beijing, there's no change in our status there. So just to clarify. What he has communicated to me is that manifests in mill-to-mill cooperation, that in forums like this, we maximize the opportunities to confer. I wish my counterpart was here at this conference, but I look forward to other options when we can cross paths and communicate, talk about things where often actions at sea or actions in the air are perceived differently when there's no communication than when there's an opportunity at the more tactical or operational level to talk about what deconfliction looked like. And I think what you'll get from the United States is good faith engagement. Clear-eyed, but good faith engagement that we are, I understand commander's intent. And the President Trump has said we're going to establish this type of framework, and I think it's important for peace in the world. The era of the United States subsidizing the defense of wealthy nations is over. We need partners, not protectorates. This region has profound implications for U.S. security and prosperity. It's the world's largest and most dynamic market area. It's why our national defense strategy directs the Department of War to set the military conditions required to achieve a lasting and favorable balance of power in the Pacific region. A mutual understanding that a Pacific dominated by any hegemon would unravel the regional balance of power and undermine the equilibrium we all seek to preserve. A favorable but durable balance of power in which no state, including China, can impose its hegemony and hold the security or prosperity of our nation and our allies in question. Under President Trump's leadership, relations between the United States and China are better than they've been in many years. President Trump and this administration seek a stable peace, fair trade, and respectful relations with China. For too long, the security of this region has rested disproportionately on American military power, while many of our allies and partners allowed their own defense capabilities to atrophy. Alliances only work when they are true partnerships. It is a two-way street. You don't have a strong alliance unless everyone has skin in the game. No freeloading. History is not over. We don't need more conferences. We need more combat power. I'm sorry to say this here. Less Shangri-La, more ships, more subs. For too long, polite pleas from our European allies to spend more on their own defense fell on deaf ears. They are finally playing catch-up, and we let ourselves get distracted by empty globalist rhetoric about the rules-based international order. We applaud the pragmatism and leadership demonstrated by Seoul. The region will be far more stable and more secure when other allies and partners follow that path. We have high expectations of our Japanese allies, and together we can and must each pull our weight to strengthen the U.S.-Japan alliance.
I safely feel the unwavering commitment by the U.S., but sometimes I feel some countries might underestimate the U.S. commitment. Can you give us the message to assure the region? And also, when tensions occur between allies and like-minded states, even tensions are slight, there will be someone attempting to drive a wedge between us. I feel the U.S. commitment is unwavering, which might be underestimated by some countries, but you are here with us today. That speaks the strong message. Japan has recently revised its policy on the transfer of defense equipment and technology. I have been advancing defense equipment cooperation with Australia, the Philippines, and New Zealand, and Indonesia too. We are making those efforts to establish resilient supply chain so that countries in the region can help each other in case of crisis. I believe this initiative is aligned with the arsenal of freedom. Is my understanding correct? Thank you very much.
Minister Koizumi, thank you for the question, for your friendship, for your engagement. I think our countries and our personal engagement is demonstrative of the kind of commitment the United States has to allies and partners.